The fluorescent lights above flickered softly as the faint beeping of heart monitors echoed through the nearly empty recovery ward. A pale figure lay motionless on the sterile white bed, an IV line running into the crook of his arm. Tubes, sensors, and silence surrounded him. John blinked slowly, staring up at the ceiling. He didn't speak. He hadn't spoken since the anesthesia wore off. A nurse walked by, glancing at his chart. "Vitals, stable," she mumbled, then paused, and added almost absently, "Shame, your girlfriend hasn't visited. Didn't she just change her status online to single and thriving?" John's eyes twitched, but only slightly. He didn't ask her to repeat it. His gaze shifted to the side, to the dull reflection in the glass window. His lips were pale, his skin clammy, his voice silent. The room around him faded as the pain in his side pulsed dully, not from the surgical wound, but from memory. 3 weeks ago, Sophia had held his hand on this very hospital floor. "I'm scared," she whispered. He had cupped her cheek gently. "You don't have to be. I'll take care of everything." Sophia's mother had been sick. Dialysis failed. Donors incompatible. Sophia was desperate. When she found out John was a perfect match, she'd burst into tears. "Are you sure you're doing this for me?" "I'm doing this because you're worth it," he said, smiling. The night before surgery, she had curled up beside him in the visitor's cat, cradling his head in her lap. "I'll wait outside the whole time," she promised. "When you wake up, I'll be there." But when he opened his eyes 12 hours later, he was alone. He had thought, maybe there was a reason: traffic, emergency, shock. But 2 days passed, then 3. The only thing he received was a notification from a mutual friend. A screenshot of Sophia's Instagram profile. New bio: single and thriving, #kidney cleanse, #fresh start, #self-love. The post attached: a bikini photo from a luxury spa. Caption: sometimes you just have to detox the drama out of your life. #wellness queen, #energy cleanse. John's throat dried as he stared at the screen. His thumb hovered over her contact, but he never dialed. He had no questions. Anymore, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was premeditated. Clara visited once, with a small bag of fruit and warm eyes full of fury. She's everywhere now. Even changed her podcast title to Reclaiming Your Body. John, ... She's telling people you were manipulative. He turned away from her. He didn't want her to see the tears. "It's not fair," Clara whispered. "You gave her a kidney, John." No reply. His hand curled slowly around the sheet. Not out of pain, but out of grief. Not just for the organ he gave away, but the part of himself he'd never get back. John was 26, a final year biochemistry major, top of his class, on full scholarship, but no one ever noticed him. In the lecture halls, he was the kind of guy who always offered his seat, always submitted reports early, always worked quietly in the back. His shoes were worn, his meals were often skipped. His bank account rarely saw more than 2 digits, but his heart, it was full at least back then. He met Sophia during his 3rd semester. She was 2 years younger, and light years ahead, in a different world. A lifestyle influencer with a growing audience, Sophia posted filtered stories of skincare hauls, matcha lattes, hotel rooms with floor-to-ceiling views, and captions like "Healing is a journey, not a destination." John first noticed her when she dropped her phone outside the library steps. He picked it up and handed it to her. She didn't look up at first, till their fingers brushed. She smiled, and for a second, it felt like something out of a drama. "Thanks," she said, her voice perfectly calm, trained by dozens of live streams. He nodded awkwardly. "No problem." From that moment on, John started seeing her everywhere. Or maybe he just started noticing. The sound of her laugh in the cafeteria. The glow of her phone lighting up her face during dusk hour. She was popular, beautiful, effortlessly magnetic. But it was during one rainy afternoon that she spoke to him again this time. Really spoke. She was crouched beneath an awning outside the dorms, crying silently, trying not to smear her makeup. John walked past, but stopped, hesitated, and then took off his jacket and held it over her head. She looked up, startled. "You'll get sick," he said. "Come inside." That was how it started. Sophia began joining him for late-night ramen. She showed up uninvited during his weekend shifts at the lab, bringing coffee. She'd call him past midnight, saying things like, "Can I just hear your voice?" She said he made her feel real, like she could be herself. No filters, no sponsors, no scripts. John fell fast. For 3 years, he held her up. He took on 3 part-time jobs, one in the chem lab, one tutoring high schoolers, and one night shift at a convenience store. Also, Sophia could afford better lighting, a new camera, monthly retreats, to cleanse her aesthetic. When she cried over online trolls, he held her. When her follower count dropped, he rewrote her captions. When she wanted to switch from YouTube to podcasting, he built her a home studio out of soundproof foam and borrowed microphones. Once he passed out during a tutoring session. The doctor told him he was severely underweight. He never told Sophia. When her mother's kidneys began to fail, Sophia spiraled. She stopped posting. Her streams turned erratic. John was the one who drove her to the hospital. He sat with her in the hallway when the results came in. She wasn't a match. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "She's going to die. John, I can't lose her." He didn't even hesitate. "I'll get tested." He was a perfect match. Sophia stared at him like he had just handed her the world. "I can't ask you to do that," she said, voice trembling. "You're not asking," John said. "I'm offering." She clung to him tightly that night, her tears soaking through his t-shirt. "You're the only one I trust with something this serious." The days that followed were a blur of hospital forms and test clearances. Sophia's content paused. She told her fans she was going on a break to heal some things in the family. But privately, she never let go of his hand. She kissed his cheek and said, "You're saving 2 lives, hers and mine." John smiled gently. "Just promise me one thing, anything," she said. "Be there when I wake up." She nodded, swore, cried. Then she vanished. And all that remained of those 3 years. All the ramen, all the money, all the sleep he sacrificed, all the blood tests, all the whispers of forever, reduced to a trending hashtag, the world, was a slow blur when John opened his eyes. Everything was muted, like someone had pressed a pillow against his ears. A dull ache ran along his side, just beneath the ribs. The kind of ache that doesn't come from a punch or a fall. No, this was surgical, clean, deep, permanent. He blinked twice and turned his head to the window. It was morning. Light filtered through cheap curtains, soft and clinical. His throat was dry, but he didn't ask for water. He didn't ask for anything. Where was she? He waited. The nurse came in, checked his IV, smiled professionally. "Vitals. Holding well, you're a strong one." He tried to speak. "Has anyone visited?" The nurse paused. "Not yet, hun. You just came out of observation. Maybe they're on their way." He nodded, but something inside him sank. The day crawled. Every time the elevator dinged, he looked toward the door. But it was always a nurse. Or another patient's relative. Never her. By evening, the silence was louder than the monitors. And he realized Sophia wasn't coming. He tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. He tried again the next day. Same. A nurse handed him his phone. "You left it at admissions." Gratefully, He turned it on, hoping maybe he had missed a message. A call, something. There were no missed calls. But there were notifications. Dozens, mostly from friends. 2 of them stood out, both from Clara. Clara, call me when you're awake, please. Clara, John, I need to show you something. He tapped the link in the next message she sent. It opened Sophia's Instagram. At first, his heart lifted. Maybe she'd posted about the surgery. About how grateful she was. Maybe this was her way of thanking him. Then he saw it. Bio, single and thriving, hashtag, fresh start, hashtag, no more drama. Hashtag finally free, and beneath it her latest post. A mirror selfie in a resort villa, low sunlight, silk robe, rose gold anklet, and next to her, a man half in frame, shirtless, with his hand on her thigh. Caption, 2 new chapters. Sometimes it takes losing yourself to find the life you were meant to live. The screen dimmed slightly in his hand as his grip tightened. Clara's message came seconds later. Clara, she went to Bali. With Leo, her editor. She blocked me last night. I'm sorry, John. John didn't respond. He just stared at the image. The sunlight in the background, the effortless serenity on Sophia's face. She looked happy. Meanwhile, he was here, stitches tight against his skin. Body sore, alone. A dry laugh escaped his lips. 3 years, he whispered. Another notification popped up. A podcast teaser, Sophia's voice smiling, perfectly modulated. Reclaiming your body after emotional codependency is the greatest form of self-love. It's not selfish to walk away from someone who keeps you small. John dropped the phone, it clattered to the floor, screen still glowing. The words echoed in his skull like gunshots. He felt something sharp, rising in his chest. Grief. First, then betrayal. Then a kind of rage, so silent, so cold, it made his hands stop shaking. He leaned forward slowly, ignoring the pain. I gave up an organ. He said quietly, and you gave up on me. A nurse knocked gently and peeked in. Mr. Kim, you okay? John didn't answer. He simply turned to the side and lay back, letting the weight of the room press down on him. Later that night, Clara showed up. She looked furious. She dropped a bag of groceries on his side table and sat down hard beside his bed. She's already selling breakup merch, Clara said, eyes blazing. Printed t-shirts that say detox your ex. She posted a TikTok of herself doing yoga on the beach, with the caption stretching out the past. John didn't even blink. She's calling you toxic, Clara added. That's what she's telling people. Still, no reaction. I can sue her, Clara snapped. She's using your story as content. No, John said, his voice hoarse. Clara stared. Why not? He turned to her slowly. Because then, I'd still be part of her story. She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded, bitterly. She doesn't deserve the attention anyway. For the next week, John said little. Just watched quietly from his hospital bed, while Sophia's followers soared. Her healing livestream hit 500,000 views. Clara stopped showing him the screenshots. One evening, Smith, an old classmate who once filmed one of Sophia's promo videos, called and asked flatly, "Is it true?" John didn't answer. "I just want to say," Smith continued, "you don't deserve this. I know what you gave up, we all do." John nodded silently. Smith added, "She said she was broken after the surgery. Like you left her emotionally drained. That's what she told her followers. Said you were a burden she had to survive." John leaned back against the pillow. "She survived all right," he said. "She just used me as the ladder." Smith sighed. "Let me know if you ever want her side of the story taken down. I know people." John smiled faintly. "I don't need her taken down." Smith, pause. Just need to disappear from her script. The discharge papers were folded neatly in John's hand. But the moment he stepped out of the hospital doors, he felt like he was walking through fog. The sun was too bright. The world too loud. Even breathing felt like a conscious effort. His steps were slow, deliberate. He had half a kidney now, and it showed. He had lost 10 pounds, couldn't lift anything over 5 kilos. Even standing for long periods made his side ache with a dull pressure that never truly faded. But he needed a job. His scholarship had ended with the semester. Rent was due next week. He had hospital bills still pending, even after insurance. He walked into 5 different places, cafes, bookstores, delivery counters. Each time the interview ended the same way. "We're really sorry, John, but your recent surgery poses a bit of a liability." He forced a smile and nodded. "I understand." They always said it nicely. But rejection still felt the same. By the 6th rejection, he sat on the park bench, across from the library, the same one he and Sophia used to sit at. Back when she'd drink milk, tea, and complain about filters, he opened his phone, against his better judgment. He typed her name in the search bar. The screen flooded with pastel colors, glowing ring lights, beachside reels, and freshly edited thumbnails. Her channel had exploded over 2 million followers now. Verified across every platform. Newest upload. Reclaiming myself. How I escaped emotional coercion and chose peace thumbnail. Sophia wiping a tear. Soft lighting. Blurred figure of a man in the background. Caption: he said he was doing it for love, but love doesn't demand silence or sacrifice. I lost myself in a relationship that slowly made me feel invisible. Now I wake up in Bali. I drink coconut water. I hike alone. I am free. John stared. At the words, he didn't even realize his hands were shaking until he accidentally clicked the comment section. Top comment. "She's so brave, oh my god, I'm so proud of you, Queen. Detox that donor. Hashtag upgrade season." She literally gave him her 20s, and he tried to emotionally trap her. He couldn't breathe. She hadn't just left him. She had rewritten the entire story. Turned him into a villain. A nameless shadow in her eyes. He dropped the phone on his lap and leaned forward, pressing his palms against his eyes. The scar beneath his rib throbbed, not physically, emotionally. A quiet voice interrupted. "I told you not to look," Amy said. He looked. Up. Amy stood with her arms crossed, still in her nurse scrubs, her brown ponytail half undone from a long shift. She looked both tired and angry. "You're torturing yourself," she said, sitting beside him. "You shouldn't even be walking this much yet, let alone spiraling through your ex's feed." "I needed to see," John said hoarsely. "No, you didn't." He looked at her. "She's making money off my kidney, Amy." Amy's expression didn't change. "You think you'll feel better knowing how many views it got?" "I'm not angry about the followers. I'm angry that she's lying. And everyone's eating it up." Amy reached into her tote and handed him a protein bar. "You need to stop bleeding for someone who already sold your story." He didn't open it. Amy leaned forward, voice softer now. "John, I know what she did. I was there the night you came out of surgery. I saw your face when she didn't show. But if you keep chasing justice in someone else's script, you'll never get your own ending." He didn't answer. She sighed. "Fine. Sit here, scroll, watch her live her fake life." Amy stood up. "But when you're ready to live, yours call me." She left. John sat in silence for another hour. That night, sleep didn't come. He sat in his dark apartment, staring at a blank Word document, his hands hovering over the keyboard. Finally, he opened another tab and typed something else. How to track deleted social media posts. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but a part of him, a small, wounded, unresolved part, needed to know the truth beneath the filters. So he began, quietly. Without telling Amy, without telling anyone, he revisited Sophia's old podcasts. Cross-referenced timestamps with flight bookings she'd mentioned. Compared clothing in day of surgery vlogs to his actual surgical date. He dug through forums, Google caches, even metadata of pictures he had once taken for her. What he found didn't match. One post claimed she was in Bali 2 days after their breakup. But he still had the discharge summary. Post-op recovery lasted 5 and Sophia had signed one of the hospital documents with him just before pre-op clearance. That document had a TIMESTAMP. She hadn't broken up with him. She had posted after the surgery, while he was unconscious. And that video titled, My Breaking Point, the one with soft crying and incense in the background. It had been filmed weeks earlier. She'd been preparing the narrative before the surgery ever happened. John sat back. His hands were no longer trembling. Now they were steady. He stared at the glowing screen. Her tear-filled eyes frozen mid-frame. You crafted this, he whispered. It wasn't spontaneous, it was scripted. It was nearly 2 a.m. when John finally opened the shared cloud folder. He and Sophia had used it when they were building her channel together, back when she still called him her tech wizard. She never changed the password. Probably assumed he forgot it. He hadn't. He scrolled past old drafts, edited thumbnails, brand pitch templates, pre-recorded voiceovers. Each file had her signature touch sparkles in the corners, calming pinks, handwritten fonts. He felt a hollow pang seeing how much time he had poured into these. Lighting plans, caption suggestions, even sound design. His fingerprints were everywhere, but one folder, buried deeper under 5 layers of subfolders, stopped him cold. Project, Rebirth. Private, he clicked. Inside were a few documents. A zipped folder of mood boards. Some ad copy, Puritan captions, with fill-in-the-blank brand tags. But one file stood out. Breakup_rebirth_PR plan_final.doxx, date created. 3 weeks before his surgery. He opened it. A clean layout greeted him. Headers, subheadings, bullet points. Professional, ruthless, objective. Rebrand Sophia as an emotionally liberated, trauma-surviving capitalize on real-life event for authentic engagement. Phase 1. The sacrifice arc week before surgery. Reduce social visibility with boyfriend John. Increase family-centered content. Begin dropping hints of emotional burden, schedule loss, and reflection. Pre-surgery vlog. Phase 2. The detachment reveal week of surgery. Initiate silent period post-op. Target equals 48 hours post-rebirth. Begins story in Bali resort collab with Leo's launch. Healing is power theme on TikTok. Phase 3. Monetization post-op week. Publish main video. I almost lost myself. Roll out detox-themed merchandise. Livestream yoga sessions. Launch podcast season. Voices after silence, reveal emotional healing partner Leo. Key dates, based on John's surgery approval. Surgery, June 4th. Breakup post, June 6th. Brand reveal, June 10. Partnership with Vitaglow. June 12th. John's fingers hovered above the track pad. He reread the lines, eyes numb. There was no hesitation in the document. No second-guessing, no emotion, just strategy. She had mapped it all out. Sophia hadn't ghosted him in a moment of fear or panic. She had planned her disappearance like a marketing rollout. Every tear she cried online had a sponsor. Every detox quote was pre-drafted. Every strong girl post had been scheduled before he was wheeled into the operating room. He clicked another file, in the same folder, an audio note, her voice clear. Rehearsed came through. So after the hospital stuff, I'm thinking I post a black and white, still first. No face, just water or rain. Something cinematic. Then the caption will be vague enough to create curiosity. Will imply trauma, but keep it open-ended. For brand flexibility. A male voice Leos chimed in. We'll push the barley content 2 days after. Viewers will eat up the glow park. Sophia, yeah. And once the merch is out, we do the soft launch couple pic. Not to direct, just he's been my rock through the storm kind of vibe. Leo laughs. Your story's gonna break the algorithm. Sophia, good. He broke my body. I should at least get something out of it. The audio cut. John sat frozen. He hadn't broken her body. He had saved her mother's life. He had skipped meals, taken double shifts, given up part of his literal anatomy, and she framed it like he was the villain. Like he was the weight she shed on her way to the top. All those promises, I'll be there when you wake up, you're the only one I trust, were props. Lines in a carefully choreographed production. Even the breakup post wasn't a spontaneous choice. It was a launchpad. He wasn't the ghost left behind. He was the engine she used to launch her next chapter. Used. Discarded. Deleted like one of her blooper reels. John didn't feel the rage this time. Just as strange. Surgical coldness. Something inside him snapped into clarity. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was about theft, and it was time to reclaim what was stolen. The first sign of trouble appeared as a brief email, an unread message buried in the sea of congratulatory brand offers. Sophia received everyday subject, notice of civil complaint, medical exploitation, and false advertising. She scoffed, tossed her phone onto the marble countertop, and laughed. They're really trying now, she muttered. Leo, seated across from her at their rooftop barley suite, leaned back. Let them. Anyone can file a complaint. Doesn't mean it'll stick. She nodded. Exactly. People love to sue when they don't get the ending they wanted. She was wearing a silky white robe. A sunrise glow filtered in. Her phone buzzed again. Another DM. Another comment on her latest photo. She stretched. Let's go live at noon. Push the coconut sponsorship again. I want it pinned. Noon came. She opened the app and started her usual preamble. Ocean behind her. Sunlight spilling through her golden hair. The same calm, breathy voice. Hey, loves, she smiled. Just a reminder that peace isn't found in people. It's found in your own reflection. At first, the comments were familiar. Queen, your journey is so inspiring. Then, a shift. Wait. Did you really stage the whole breakup? Is it true you used someone's organ as a marketing move? Check YouTube. Your trending hash, tag detox fraud. Her fingers froze above the comments. She blinked. Then she laughed awkwardly. There's been some noise today. But we don't feed negativity, right? Stay in your power. She ended the live stream. Leo walked in. We've got a problem. She turned. What? He tossed his phone on the bed. It was already loaded. YouTube. Trending number 3 title. She branded his kidney, the dark truth behind Sophia's rebirth campaign. The thumbnail was simple. Sophia's face in one half, and a hospital discharge form in the other. View count climbing fast. The video played. It opened with a narrator composed. This isn't just about a breakup. This is about how a woman turned a man's organ donation into content and built an empire on deception. John's face didn't appear, but his voice did. He had recorded a private diary, days after the surgery. Audio of him trying to eat while wincing. A soft trembling voice, saying, I don't know where she went. I keep checking the door. Maybe today's the day she visits. Then the documents, .metadata, from Sophia's own cloud folders. Screenshots, drafts. A clip from her audio file clean enhanced. I'm saving his organ donation for my brand reboot. The screen cut 2 receipts, dates, pre-scheduled content. With file names like post-surgery launch and coconutted_healing theme. Then Clara's testimony. Then Smith's anonymous email trail he had helped with sound design and kept backups. Sophia's voice laughing, crisp, damning. Once the surgery's over, I go quiet, right? Like silent era. Then boom, I found. Peace in loss, they'll eat it up. The video ended with, healing never costs someone else their body. It had over 3 million views in 8 hours. Sophia's sponsors pulled out one by one. First, the smoothie brand. Then the athleisure line by Sunset. Even her Instagram merch link was dead. Leo paced the room. We need to get ahead of this. Deny everything. Say it was deep faked. Sophia stared at the wall, unmoving. It wasn't. We can say it was. Taken out of context, it wasn't. Leo froze. Are you saying this is your fault? He asked. Sophia turned to him, voice hollow. No, I'm saying he didn't die. That was my mistake. Leo's face changed. Excuse me. He was supposed to disappear. Be forgotten. A quiet footnote. She walked to the mirror and looked at herself, no filters now. No touch dash-ups, just her. The next morning her account was frozen. A legal notice arrived at her management's front. Desk: no public press, just cold, clean filing. Allegations of medical exploitation, psychological distress, monetized defamation, and breach of informed consent. Her manager called once. Left a voicemail. Until this clears, your assets are on hold. I'm sorry. By evening, even the yoga studio in Bali posted a statement. We do not condone organ-based influencer campaigns. Ms. Sophia is no longer associated with our platform. Her DMs were flooded with rage. He nearly died, and you monetized it. Hashtag brand off her back, trending now. We want a public apology, and a refund. Her podcasts were removed. Her merchandise site shut down. She tried opening TikTok. The latest duet was a teenage boy holding up a kidney anatomy chart while reacting to her voice, saying I needed to detox the past. He zoomed in on the scar location. Caption: Is this what she meant by detox? She slammed the laptop shut. She hadn't heard from Leo in hours. She opened her phone and tapped the contact she hadn't touched in weeks. John. The ringing tone buzzed in her ear. Again straight. To voicemail, she texted instead. I never meant for it to go this far, please, can we talk? The message turned blue, no response. She texted again, please. I was scared. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. Seen, but no reply. She called again, and again. Until finally his voicemail played. If this is about the kidney, you already took it. If it's about the truth, it's already out. If it's about me, there's nothing left. She stood there, in her luxury suite, sunlight blinding through glass, a wind chime tinkling faintly by the terrace, and for the first time in weeks, she couldn't breathe. The weather was overcast, but the light inside the community hall felt warm. John stood at the corner of the room, a stack of flyers in one hand, and a reusable coffee cup in the other. Behind him, a banner read, MedMatch bridging donors, and those left behind. The logo was simple. A kidney and heart forming an infinity loop. Around him, volunteers buzzed. There was a mother explaining dialysis funding to a teenager. A translator helping an elderly man sign a reimbursement form. A nurse, reviewing follow-up protocols with a family. John wasn't in the spotlight. He didn't want to be. He didn't even sit at the front during the panel. Amy did that. She was in a soft grey cardigan, now serving as the medical director of the platform. She answered most of the questions, breaking things down gently, clearly. But when the moderator asked John to step up, he did quietly, without hesitation. He walked to the mic, wearing a navy button-up and no tie. He looked healthier, stronger. A soft scar still peeked from beneath his collarbone. But he stood straight. The moderator glanced down at her cue card. "John, you've chosen to never address the viral controversy directly. Millions have speculated. But today, if I may, do you forgive her?" A hush fell over the room. John didn't look surprised. He simply took a moment. Then he said, "I gave freely." A pause. "I wasn't tricked into loving her. I wasn't tricked into donating. In that moment, I meant every word, every step, every signature." Another breath. "But now," he added, voice steady, "I give to people who never asked to take." He nodded once, and returned to his seat. There was no applause. Just a quiet respect that settled into the air. Like dust catching light. The clip went viral within hours, but not because of gossip. It was shared by support groups, by health advocates, by quiet people who saw themselves in John's restraint. Meanwhile, halfway across the country, Sophia stepped out of the back entrance of an empty hotel ballroom. The event had been a disaster. She had tried to rebrand, new name, new hair, a spiritual detox persona. Only 3 people showed up. 2 were YouTubers. The third asked if she could refund the old detox kits as she exited. Paparazzi called by. Someone else snapped photos she hadn't approved. Her makeup smudged. Her coat too thin for the weather. And as flashbulbs erupted, someone in the distance yelled, "Organ thief." She flinched. A security guard tried to wave them off. But she'd already turned. Her new handle, once carefully curated, now showed, at Sophia Dusk, "This account is no longer available." No blue tick, no active posts, just a placeholder. She tried pitching new campaigns under an alias. Every single proposal came back declined. Her name was blacklisted across 4 marketing databases. Even Leo was gone. The last message he sent had been 2 lines. "I warned you. You thought you could control the fallout. I'm not going down with you." Now, Sophia took side gigs under fake names, video editing, stock captions, ghostwriting trauma posts for influencers who never lived through what she'd faked. She watched quietly as others wore her aesthetic, spoke her old slogans, but with integrity. And those accounts thrived. She couldn't even hate them for it, because they hadn't hurt anyone to get there. And John, she only saw him once more, in a news segment, talking beside Amy. Standing outside a mobile van, with the MedMatch logo. He smiled, just slightly. As a child handed him a thank you card. He looked happy, healthy, whole. She turned off the TV. She didn't cry, but she did sit there a long time thinking. Meanwhile, John packed up folding chairs after the event. Amy came over. "With 2 cups of tea, you handled that question well," she said. He took the cup. "It's easier when I know what matters." Amy tilted her head. "And what matters?" John looked around. A boy getting a ride home. An old woman smiling at the new mobile unit's heating system. A donor meeting the person whose life he saved. Nodded at them all. This Amy smiled. "You know," she said, "I still remember the first time you came out of surgery. You asked me if she'd come visit." John didn't answer. Amy added softly, "I'm glad she didn't." John looked at her. "I am too," he said. They sipped their tea, and the world moved on. The sky was painted in strokes of lavender and burnt orange. The lake before them shimmered gently under the last light of day, its surface still and honest, no reflections twisted. No currents, hidden dot. John stood at the edge, his shoes pressed into the soft earth. Amy stood a few feet away, hands tucked into her coat pockets, silent, respectful. He exhaled slowly. The kind of breath that didn't hitch anymore. No machines. No hospital walls. No name haunting his silence. Just air, lungs, and dusk. I used to think part of me was missing, John said quietly. Amy looked over, waiting. He didn't rush. There was a time I thought that maybe if I gave enough, sacrificed enough, eventually, I'd feel whole. He looked out across the water. But the emptiness I felt, it wasn't because I gave too much. It was because I gave to someone who treated me like a spare part. Amy stepped beside him, shoulder to shoulder. Her voice was soft. And now, John glanced down at the lake. His reflection wavered, but didn't disappear. He smiled faintly. Turns out, I was just giving to the wrong person. But my heart's still here. And I've got more than enough left to give. They stood there for a while longer, no fanfare, no applause, just healing, still in progress. But finally, somewhere far away, on a phone long forgotten, a message sat untouched in John's inbox. I'll never forget you. It was the last thing Sophia ever sent. She had written it late at night, alone, hoping maybe nostalgia could rebuild a bridge. Her ambition burned. John never replied, because the message was true. Just not for him. He didn't hate her, he didn't wish her harm, he just no longer carried her weight. His final thought, unspoken but settled deep in the marrow of his healing. But I already forgot you.